Here's the guy who's always in a dark room, right?
That's a misnomer. Dark rooms. Editors aren't, we're not like moles. We like light as much as anybody else does.
Okay, walk me through a regular year in the life of an editor. The reason I ask a year and not a day is because I want to go through how often are you working? How often are you not working? When you are working, what do your days look like? When you're not, what do your days look like?
Well, I think there's a misnomer, and I don't know, probably a lot of people on your call here understand what we do, but in general, people are always assuming that you're cutting the movie after they shoot it, and of course you're not. So the editor is really, certainly as far as head of department and almost any other crew member, what people don't know is the editor is on, and the editing crew is on longer than anybody, because they're usually on before production starts. They're usually on at least a week or two before production starts. Now, we're not heavily involved in pre-production, but there's pre-production, production ends, everybody goes away and goes on to another job. We're on from like 2 weeks before production, take it all the way through production, and then sometimes months and months and months afterwards, year and a half, 2 years to do certain movies. So, so that's one of the things. But if I get 2 jobs in a year, it's a lot. That's why winning an Oscar is like crazy, because other people have a lot more bites at the apple. Like, for example, a film mixer. Those guys get up on stage and win an Oscar for mixing a movie. They might mix 6 movies in a year. So, the guys who work on the production they might be on the production crew, like a cinematographer might do 2 or 3 movies in a year. Actors will do many movies in a year. So, but an editor, you get a year. And so it's not that like the ultimate goal is to win an Oscar. It never was. But when you look at it from the perspective of like the chances, it's just you're tethered to a movie much longer than most other crew people. So, but as far as the best way to answer your question is just break it down into chunks. On Ford Ferrari, that was a kind of unique situation, which was the racing sequences on the movie were so complicated that I was brought on during pre-production, like 2.5 months early, because we were cutting previs, which is basically essentially an animated version of a couple of the scenes, particularly the Le Mans scene. And the Le Mans scene was so complicated that there was no way that they could actually have shot that sequence in the time that they did if they had shot it, say, 20 years ago. Because what we did with the previs process was develop the cutting strategies and develop the shots before they went out and shot it. So by the time we get to shoot it, particularly the on-course racing stuff, we knew exactly each piece we needed. So I cut that and then cut it again when it came in. So I cut an entire previs for like 2.5 months with the previs team who was producing shots and providing to me. We were doing a full sound pass and the whole thing. And that allowed us to be able to shoot that sequence and do it in a timely fashion. Because the thing about Ford Ferrari is it's a movie that's been around for I think 20 years. For years and years and years, Michael Mann had it, and he had a budget that was near $200 million. And the reason why, one of the main reasons this movie got made was that it cost 90 for us to do it. And one of the reasons, and the Le Mans sequence is a testament to how technology helps, because we were able to really formulate that sequence before they went out and shot it. So I was on for that 2.5 months, and then production started and the dailies come in. And the best way to describe that is it's like being up to your nostrils in drowning in water. It's like being in the post office. It's like you're just getting dailies all the time. And every day, there's this phrase in editing of keeping up to camera, which is, there's a lot of onus put on, are you up to camera? Are you basically cutting the scenes they shot yesterday? Which is, I'm never up to camera, but you're struggling to get through that. They get to the end of production, usually a week or 2 after production. I asked for 2. I show the movie in total to the director, and then we start the director's cut, which is contractually through the DGA like 2.5 months. He's got 2.5 months to cut the movie and get it to where he wants. Then you produce it. Then you show it to the studio and the producers, and then they start to get in and give their feedback, and you start doing notes on that, and then you go to preview, and then you get feedback from audiences. You start to do changes on that, and you're just refining, and then you get into the final stages once it's locked, and you start dealing with color timing and score and sound effects and the whole thing. And then you go and you mix, which on Ford Ferrari was like 2-month mix. It was really long. So by the time I finished Ford Ferrari, I was like, that was a year. That movie was a year, which is incredible to me because it was so complicated. It could have been so much longer. So